Okay, I've wanted to make this video for a short time now, but I recently just finished watching The Last Airbender for the first time, and what a journey it was. It's sad because I actually never saw it when I was a child, even though I would have been the right age group for it. Regardless, I finished what has to be one of, if not the highest quality children's television show I've ever seen. And I want to talk about it. I really, really did enjoy it, so I do want to talk about it today. It's a show that I know I'm going to go back and watch several times in the future, and a show that's as near perfect as anything you'll see on television these days. I can't recommend it enough if you haven't seen it. Also, this is going to be a spoiler warning. This is spoilers for a show that is like 15 years old now. Anyways, this is the Avatar The Last Airbender Iceberg Explained. Cabbage Corp was a business set up by the cabbage merchant that sells motor vehicles and other technologies. It can be seen in The Legend of Korra, and the creation of Cabbage Corp took place after the events of The Last Airbender show. So, to be honest, this is, Legend of Korra is a spin-off of Avatar, but this is about Legend of Korra. The company is run by the cabbage merchant's son, Laogan Lan. I think that's maybe how you pronounce his name, as a way of keeping the cabbage merchant in the show, because let's be fair, he was a real fan favourite, so that's how they kind of kept him in the show. The blue spirit mask belonged to Ursa. This is quite an interesting little bit of trivia, but in the graphic novel follow-up to the Last Airbender series, it's confirmed that the blue spirit mask, the one that Zuko wears when he breaks Aang out of prison in season 1 of the show, well, it's confirmed to be his mother's, as it can be kind of seen in her chambers among other theatre masks, so that is Zuko's mum's. Toph's original character design was meant to be none other than Sud. Yeah, if you don't know or remember Sud, he was Avatar Roku's earthbending master. This is why Toph can't be seen in the little introduction, where Master Paku, Azula and Aang are all kind of demonstrating their elements. Toph isn't there, even though she's probably the most well-known earthbender in the show. Toph was originally going to be a very buff 16-year-old, but apparently the creators thought it would be a bit funnier seeing a young girl defeating all of the older and more experienced earthbenders. Toph's origins are also referenced at the end of the show, when Toph is betrayed by a big strong bloke in the kind of play episode. And she's like, I wouldn't have cast it any other way. This is just a really good choice in the end, and it did kind of pay off quite well. Hama was on the old warship from book 1. If you don't remember her character, she was the old woman that taught Katara bloodbending in season 3. She reveals that she was captured by the Fire Nation and taken onto their warships, and I think this entry is kind of getting at the fact that we see quite a few people being transported in season 1, a lot of prisoners. So Hama was likely on those kind of ships. And we see some flashbacks from when the Water Tribe was being invaded kind of back in season 1, so potentially Hama would have been there. Every season starts on a boat. This is just a little bit of trivia, but yes, perhaps it's a coincidence, but every single season starts on a boat. In season 1, Katara and Sokka are fishing, and in season 2 and 3, Aang is just dreaming inside the living quarters on much bigger boats, and then he wakes up and he's like, ah. So, little coinky dink there. Bumi threw chicken at Aang. That's a thing that happened. When we're first introduced to Bumi, him and Aang haven't seen each other for 100 years. And so whilst Aang doesn't recognise Bumi, Bumi on the other hand has a small inkling that Aang is in his presence. So as a test, he kind of puts chicken on his plate to see if he eats it. He knows Aang is a vegetarian, so he wouldn't. And, he doesn't. So this was just a small way of him testing the waters. When Aang declines, it basically confirms that he is the Avatar and Bumi's friend. So, yeah, just a little kind of thing for Bumi kind of testing out who Aang was. The Painted Lady is Yue. If you don't remember the Painted Lady, she was a spirit in a town that Team Avatar stopped at. The Painted Lady is a water spirit, to be precise, and given the fact that the Moon Spirit and Ocean Spirit are very closely related, this means she's kind of connected to Princess Yue. I don't think she is Princess Yue, like this is trying to say, but she's very closely related to Princess Yue. As Princess Yue, Sokka's romantic interest, she turned into the moon, so kind of that's a little connection there. Zuko's pet bird. So in the original pilot of the series, Zuko had a pet bird. It was a red hawk and acted as an opposition to kind of Momo, attempting to add to Zuko's character and make him even more of a foil to Aang, kind of drawing a line there. The bird, however, was later scrapped, but was able to squeeze in an appearance in the show, being used in season 3 as a companion to Sokka for an episode, being named Hawkeye, as that classic episode we kind of see he's got his bird there. Naga was Appa's original design. It's very interesting to me how many changes the show's creator made to their initial plans. But what's even more interesting to me is how many of those changes paid off very well. Everyone knows Appa, right? Sky Bison, cool design, functional to the plot. Well, originally, he was meant to be this. A bit of a monstrosity compared to what we're kind of used to now, but the design would be reused as Naga from Legend of Korra, Korra's animal sidekick. Also, looking at this picture, you might see a small robot. This is Momo's original design. When trying to find out some information about this, I discovered that the entire show sprung from just a single sketch, in which Momo was again a robot. The weird robot monkey is just again a reminder of how interesting it is to see how each choice they made was the right one. A robot Momo would have been, I don't even know what that would have been. From what we know, Azula was supposed to have an arranged marriage arc in book 3, but the original idea was scrapped because it didn't fit into the story. Potentially this arc was kind of a way to possibly flesh out her character and show the audience that she can be sympathized with. What we already got was very good, and so I don't think anyone really minds. Of course, these days we like our villains to kind of be very sympathetic. It's almost a new trend that's been going on, but sometimes it is just nice to see a stone cold villain. You know, Azula, I don't know how Azula would have worked as someone that can be sympathized with. I think she was fantastic just the way she was, just a stone cold, rock hard villain. 2 Irohs. Many big fans of the show already know this, but in case you don't, Uncle Iroh was originally voiced by Mako. However, during season 2 of the show, Mako contracted esophageal cancer and passed away, with Leaves from the Vine being, I think, what might have been his last recording. He was replaced by Greg Baldwin, who I have to say did a fantastic job replicating his voice. This is one of the reasons why I believe that Iroh wasn't in season 3 as much as he was in the rest of the show. But yeah, while kind of his voice never does sound different, he's voiced by 2 different people. And but I do kind of think that Greg Baldwin carried the torch very well. I just love Uncle Iroh. He's probably my favourite character. I love him. And it was such a shame that Mako passed away during production. Aang dies at the end of season 2. I mean, yeah, he does. He temporarily dies at the hands of Azula when he is in the Avatar state. Season 3 begins with him on a Fire Nation ship, and the fact that Katara pulled him from the grips of death means that he didn't completely die. He just kind of temporarily died, I guess. It was meant to be him reborn. It was meant to be Aang kind of reborn from that moment. So yeah. The Air Nomads killed themselves. I've kind of run into trouble researching this one. At the end of the day, Avatar is a children's show, so I don't think suicide would even be implied on the show. I believe that the theory is that the Air Nomads obviously aren't going to go to war because that's not their culture, and in their mind, it's more honourable to die at your own hand than at the hands of someone else. And therefore, I believe that the theory is that they just killed themselves so they wouldn't have to be killed by the Fire Nation. The Fifth Nation. So, throughout Avatar, we are consistently told that there are only 4 nations, those being Earth, Water, Fire, and Air. Well, not exactly, not quite, because in fact, there are actually 5 nations, technically I guess, with the 5th nation being a weird kind of pirate society called the 5th Nation. Name's a bit on the nose. The 5th Nation was a long-standing pirate group, traditionally based in the Eastern Sea, and it existed for a long time, so much in fact that it transcended just being a crime group and actually became a distinct group of people with its own culture, traditions, and history, the majority of which hail from the Southern Tribe, but a few kind of came from outside that. The members of the 5th Nation do not exclusively use one element. Some of them use water, some of them use fire, some of them use earth. And yeah, it's just quite interesting, a little tidbit there, that there is actually 5 nations and not just the 4 that we're told every single episode at the start. And lastly, Aang was not the Avatar, something I also wasn't able to kind of research very well, but from what I found, it seems as though Aang wasn't the last Airbender, at least. In the comics, Commander Zhao claims that he laid a trap out for Aang the same way that other Airbenders were trapped 100 years ago. By definition, a nomad is a person that moves around a lot, and so the likelihood that Aang is the last Airbender is kind of extremely small. There would be others kind of hiding their powers, ones that we never saw in the show, but I'm sure that there would have been at least a few kind of roaming around. So there we have it. This video was a lot shorter than most, but the iceberg that I found simply wasn't very long. Regardless, I want to thank you for watching this video. I have a Discord now, link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe, because we would love to have you as part of the community. I'm really close right now, probably in the next, today, I'm going to hit 1,400 subscribers. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, if you're new, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter @FoxAkimbo and send iceberg requests to foxakimbo@gmail.com. I think a WWE iceberg is in the works for next time, kind of a wrestling iceberg. But aside from that, let me know what you'd like to see me do next, because I'm only 27 videos in and I'm already out of ideas. Thank you for watching.